The hospital waiting room smelled like antiseptic and broken dreams. I sat there at 2 a.m. on a Tuesday, still in my work clothes, my tie loosened, my hands shaking as I filled out paperwork I could barely read through the tears. The fluorescent lights were too bright, the chairs were too hard, and I was so tired. Mr. Chen, a nurse, appeared in the doorway. Your brother is stable, he's asking for you. I followed her down the corridor to the psychiatric ward, a place I never thought I'd be visiting. But here I was, about to see my younger brother after his second suicide attempt in 6 months. Daniel was in a bed by the window, his wrists bandaged, his face pale against the white pillows. He was only 19, just a kid, and he'd tried to leave this world because he couldn't bear being in it anymore. Hey, I said softly, sitting in the chair beside his bed. I'm sorry, Jamie, his voice was barely a whisper. I'm so sorry. Don't apologize, just talk to me, help me understand. I can't do this anymore, being alive hurts too much. Every day is this weight I can't carry and I'm tired, I'm so tired, Jamie. My throat closed up. I know you're tired, but Daniel, we'll figure this out together, the doctors here can help. They can't fix me, nobody can fix me, I'm broken and I'll always be broken. You're not broken, you're hurting, there's a difference. Daniel closed his eyes. Can you just stay? I don't want to be alone. I'm not going anywhere. I stayed all night holding his hand, watching him sleep fitfully and trying not to fall apart. My brother needed me to be strong, my brother needed me to have answers. But I had none. When morning came, the hospital social worker pulled me aside. Your brother needs intensive treatment, she explained. We're recommending a 30-day inpatient program. It's voluntary, but given his recent attempts, we strongly advise it. Whatever he needs, whatever it costs. There's also the matter of support when he's released. Does Daniel have a stable home environment, family support? I thought about our apartment, the one we shared, the one I'd been desperately trying to keep afloat while working 60-hour weeks and managing Daniel's depression. I thought about how alone I felt, how exhausted, how I was drowning trying to save someone who didn't want to be saved. He has me, I said, that's enough. But was it? Daniel agreed to the inpatient program, 30 days of intensive therapy, medication management, and support groups. 30 days where I could breathe, sleep, try to put my own life back together. Except I couldn't. I went to work, but I couldn't concentrate. I went home to our empty apartment and stared at Daniel's bedroom door, terrified of what I might find when he came back. I stopped eating properly, stopped sleeping more than a few hours a night, stopped answering calls from friends who were worried about me. You need support too, Daniel's therapist told me during a family session. You can't pour from an empty cup. Have you considered a support group for family members of people with mental illness? I don't have time. Make time or you'll burn out and then you won't be able to help your brother at all. So I went. The support group met every Thursday evening at a community center in Brooklyn. I almost turned back 3 times before finally forcing myself through the door. The room was arranged in a circle, about 12 chairs, half of them already filled with people who looked as tired as I felt. A woman in her 50s was crying quietly. A middle-aged man stared at his hands. A younger woman, maybe my age, was clutching a coffee cup like a lifeline. Welcome, said the facilitator, a kind-looking man in his 60s. We're just getting started, please have a seat. I took a chair near the door, easier to escape if I needed to. For those who are new, I'm Gerald. I've been facilitating this group for 5 years. We're here to support each other, share experiences, and remember that we're not alone in this journey. Who would like to start tonight? People shared, a mother whose adult son had schizophrenia, a husband whose wife was bipolar, a sister whose brother had severe anxiety. Their stories were different, but the pain was the same, the helplessness, the fear, the exhaustion of loving someone who was suffering. When it came to me, I almost passed, but something in the room, the safety, the understanding, made me speak. I'm Jamie, my brother Daniel is 19, he has severe depression, he's tried to kill himself twice in 6 months, he's currently in an inpatient program and I'm terrified of what happens when he comes home. I don't know how to help him, I don't know how to help myself, and I'm so angry at the world, at the universe, at whatever made him this way. I'm angry and I'm tired and I don't know how much longer I can do this. The room was silent for a moment, Then the young woman who'd been clutching the coffee cup spoke. I'm Sophia. My younger sister has borderline personality disorder. She's attempted suicide 3 times. And Jamie, everything you just said, I feel that every single day. The anger, the exhaustion, the fear, you're not alone in this. After the meeting, people lingered, talking in small groups. I was headed for the door when someone touched my arm. Jamie. I turned. It was a man I hadn't noticed during the meeting. He must have come in late. He was around my age, maybe 28 or 29, with light brown hair, kind eyes, and a gentle smile that reached all the way to his eyes. I'm Lucas, he said. I wanted to introduce myself. This is my first meeting too. Oh, I thought maybe I was the only newbie. Nope, I almost ran away twice before I came in, then I heard you speak and I thought, okay, I'm not the only one who's terrified. He smiled ruefully. My ex-partner now has severe depression and PTSD. We broke up 3 months ago because I couldn't handle it anymore and I've been drowning in guilt ever since. I'm sorry. Me too, but I'm here now trying to figure out how to live with the guilt and the grief and everything else. He paused. Would you want to grab coffee sometime, just to talk? I find it helps to connect with people who actually understand. Something in his expression, the genuine kindness, the shared pain made me say yes. Sure, coffee would be good. We exchanged numbers, and I left the community center feeling marginally less alone than when I'd entered. We met for coffee on Saturday afternoon at a cafe in Park Slope. Lucas was already there when I arrived, sitting at a corner table with 2 drinks. I took a guess, he said, gesturing to the cup across from him. Black coffee, you seem like a black coffee person. That's either very perceptive or mildly concerning. I'm going with perceptive, he smiled. Thanks for coming, I wasn't sure you would. Honestly, I almost didn't. But I've been alone in my apartment all week, and the walls were starting to close in. I know that feeling. Lucas wrapped his hands around his cup. So, Daniel's still in the inpatient program. 2 more weeks, I visit him 3 times a week. He's doing better, the medication is helping, the therapy is helping. But I'm terrified of what happens when he comes home. Because you're afraid he'll try again. Because I'm afraid I won't be enough, that I'll do everything right and it still won't matter, that I'll lose him anyway. My voice cracked. Sorry, I don't usually fall apart in public. It's not falling apart, it's being human. Lucas leaned forward. Jamie, can I tell you something? When my ex Marcus, when he was at his worst, I used to wake up every morning and check if he was still breathing, every single morning for months. And I was so angry at him for making me live like that, for putting that weight on me. Then I felt guilty for being angry because he was suffering. It was this endless cycle. What happened? Why did you break up? Because I realized I was drowning. I loved him, but I was losing myself trying to save him. And the worst part, I wasn't actually helping. All my sacrifice, all my exhaustion, it didn't make him better. He needed professional help and I needed to accept that I couldn't be his therapist, his caretaker, and his partner all at once. Lucas looked down. He's doing better now, actually. He got into a good treatment program, found a therapist who really clicked with him. We talk sometimes, but we can't be together, not now, maybe not ever. Do you regret it, leaving? Every day, but I also know it was the right choice for both of us. We talked for 3 hours. About mental illness, about guilt, about the impossibility of loving someone who's in so much pain. Lucas told me about his work as a veterinarian, about his family who didn't quite understand what he was going through, about his fear that he'd never be able to trust himself in a relationship again. I told him about my job in marketing, about my parents who lived across the country and called once a week asking if Daniel was better yet, like depression was a cold you could cure with chicken soup. I told him about the loneliness of being responsible for another person's life. You know what the worst part is? I said as we walked out of the cafe into the cooling evening. I feel like I'm not allowed to struggle, like my job is to be strong for Daniel, and if I fall apart then what? Who takes care of him? You're allowed to struggle, Jamie. You're allowed to be tired and scared and overwhelmed. That doesn't make you weak, it makes you human. I needed to hear that. Then I'm glad I said it. Lucas stopped walking, turning to face me. Hey, would you want to do this again? The coffee thing, I find it really helps to talk to someone who gets it. I'd like that a lot, actually. We made plans to meet again the following week, and I went home feeling lighter than I had in months. Over the next few weeks, Lucas and I fell into a routine: coffee on Saturdays, support group on Thursdays, occasionally dinner when we both needed more than an hour of venting. He became my lifeline, the person I could text at 2 a.m. when the anxiety got too bad, when I was terrified Daniel would hurt himself again, when I needed someone to remind me I was doing my best. And I became that for him too, when the guilt about Marcus overwhelmed him, when he questioned whether he'd made the right choice, when he needed someone to tell him he wasn't a terrible person for choosing his own well-being. "You're my favorite person," Lucas told me one night over Thai food. "Is that weird to say? We've only known each other for 6 weeks." "It's not weird, you're my favorite person too." "I think we're trauma bonded," he joked, "like soldiers who went through war together. Except our war is mental illness and trying not to drown in our own emotions." Exactly, very glamorous. But it was more than trauma bonding, and I knew it. I was falling for Lucas, hard. The way he laughed at my terrible jokes, the way he listened, really listened, when I talked, the way he remembered small details like how I took my coffee or that I hated mushrooms, the way his face lit up when I walked into a room. The problem, I had no idea if he felt the same way, or if he was even gay. We'd never discussed sexuality. I'd mentioned an ex-boyfriend once in passing and Lucas hadn't reacted with surprise or discomfort. But he'd also only ever talked about Marcus, using male pronouns without explicitly stating his orientation. And I was terrified to ask, terrified to risk this friendship that had become so vital to my survival. Daniel was released from the inpatient program on a Tuesday. I picked him up, helped him settle back into his room, and tried not to hover. "I'm okay, Jamie," he said, noticing my anxiety. "I really am doing better, the medication is working, I have a therapist I actually like, I'm not going to hurt myself." "I know, I worry." "I know you do, but Jamie, you can't spend every moment watching me, you need to live your life too." Easy to say, harder to do. That first week was tense. I found myself checking on Daniel constantly. Was he taking his meds? Was he going to his therapy appointments? Was he sleeping, eating, functioning? Every time he closed his bedroom door, I fought the urge to knock and make sure he was okay. "You're suffocating him," Lucas said gently when I called him, spiraling. "I know you're scared, but Jamie, he's right, you can't watch him 24/7, you'll burn out and he'll feel like a burden." "What if something happens?" "Then you deal with it, but you can't live your life in constant fear of what-ifs. You have to trust that Daniel's getting the help he needs, that he'll reach out if he's struggling, that the safety plan you've put in place will work." How do you make it sound so simple? Because I've been where you are, and I've learned the hard way that you can't control everything. You can only control your reactions and your boundaries. "Speaking of boundaries," I said hesitantly, "Daniel's therapist wants me to start living more, doing things that aren't work or watching my brother, and I thought maybe, would you want to do something, not coffee or dinner, but like something fun, something that has nothing to do with mental illness or support groups?" There was a pause, then like a date. My heart stopped. Yeah, like a date, if you want, if you're interested, if you're into guys. I realize I never actually asked and I'm making assumptions and... "Jamie, breathe," Lucas was laughing. "Yes, I'm into guys, I'm gay, I thought you knew that." "How would I know that?" "I talked about Marcus for weeks, I used male pronouns. I thought maybe Marcus was just a friend, or you were bi, or you know what, it doesn't matter." "Are you saying yes to the date?" "I'm absolutely saying yes to the date." First date. We went to a botanical garden on a Sunday afternoon, neutral territory, beautiful, with plenty to look at if the conversation got awkward. It wasn't awkward at all. We walked through gardens filled with autumn colors, talking about everything except mental illness and depression. Lucas told me about his dream of opening his own veterinary practice someday. I told him about my secret passion for photography, how I used to spend hours taking pictures before life got so heavy. "Why did you stop?" Lucas asked. "No time, no energy. It felt selfish to spend time on hobbies when Daniel needed me." "But Jamie, you're allowed to have hobbies. You're allowed to do things that make you happy." "I know that intellectually, emotionally it feels wrong." "Then maybe it's time to start working on that." Lucas stopped walking and turned to face me. You've spent months taking care of everyone else, your brother, your job, even me. You're always checking in, making sure I'm okay, but who takes care of you? I'm fine. You're not fine, you're exhausted and overwhelmed and you're carrying weight that's crushing you. He reached out tentatively and took my hand. Let me help carry some of it, please. The touch of his hand sent warmth through my entire body. I don't know how to do that, I admitted. I don't know how to accept help, I don't know how to not be in crisis mode. Then we'll figure it out together, one day at a time. We walked hand in hand through the rest of the gardens. Lucas told me terrible plant puns that made me laugh despite myself. I took photos on my phone, the first time I'd done that for pleasure in months. At the exit, Lucas turned to me. Can I kiss you? Please. The kiss was soft and gentle, his hand cupping my face, and for the first time in months I felt something other than fear and exhaustion. I felt hope. Dating Lucas while managing Daniel's recovery was complicated. There were good days and bad days. Days when Daniel was engaged and hopeful, attending his therapy sessions, taking his medication, slowly rebuilding his life. Days when I could breathe, when I could text Lucas without guilt, when I could imagine a future that wasn't just survival. And there were bad days, days when Daniel couldn't get out of bed, days when he talked about how the world would be better without him, days when I was terrified I'd lose him. Lucas was there through all of it. Not as a replacement for professional help, not as someone trying to fix everything, but as a partner. He'd come over and cook dinner when I was too exhausted to function. He'd sit with me in silence when I didn't have words. He'd remind me to eat, to sleep, to take care of myself. You're allowed to have joy, he told me one night as we lay on my couch, my head on his chest. Even while Daniel is struggling, your happiness doesn't diminish his pain. It feels selfish. It's not selfish, it's survival. And Jamie, you've been in survival mode for so long, don't you want to live instead of just survive? I don't know how. Then let me teach you. He took me to his veterinary clinic on a quiet Saturday, showing me around, introducing me to the animals in recovery. We played with puppies and cuddled kittens, and I laughed, really laughed for the first time in months. He surprised me with a photography class, something I'd mentioned wanting to take years ago. We spent Sunday mornings shooting around Brooklyn, Lucas patient as I relearned something I'd loved. He reminded me that I was more than Daniel's caretaker. I was Jamie, someone with interests and dreams and a life worth living. 3 months into our relationship, Daniel had a bad episode. I came home from work to find him on the bathroom floor, a bottle of pills beside him, unresponsive. I called 911. I performed CPR. I rode in the ambulance, my hands still shaking, my mind screaming that I'd failed, that I hadn't watched him closely enough, that I'd been too focused on Lucas and my own happiness to notice Daniel was struggling. He survived. The doctors pumped his stomach, monitored him overnight, transferred him back to the psychiatric ward. I'm so sorry, Daniel sobbed when he woke up. I'm so sorry, Jamie, I thought I was better, I thought I could handle it, but the depression came back and I didn't know how to fight it and I just wanted it to stop. Why didn't you tell me you were struggling? Because you were happy. For the first time since I've known you, you were actually happy, and I didn't want to be the one to take that away from you. My heart broke. Daniel, you will never be a burden to me, never. Your pain doesn't take away from my happiness. They can exist together, but I need you to promise me that you'll reach out next time, that you'll tell me when it gets bad, that you won't try to protect me from your struggle. I promised. I'm sorry. Lucas met me at the hospital at 3 a.m. He didn't say anything, just pulled me into his arms and held me while I cried. I can't do this, I said into his shoulder. I can't keep living like this, always afraid, always waiting for the next crisis. I love my brother, but I'm drowning, Lucas, I'm fucking drowning. I know. And I don't know how to save him without destroying myself. You can't save him, Jamie, that's not your job. Your job is to love him and support him and make sure he has access to help. But you can't save him, only he can do that. Then what do I do? You set boundaries, you take care of yourself. You accept that you're doing everything you can and that sometimes everything you can isn't enough, and that's not your failure, it's just the reality of mental illness. I'm so tired. I know, but Jamie, you're not alone, not anymore. You have me, you have the support group, you have Daniel's treatment team. You don't have to carry this by yourself. What if I can't do it? What if I break? Then I'll be there to help put you back together, just like you've helped put me back together. Daniel was hospitalized for 2 weeks. During that time, I started intensive therapy of my own, dealing with caregiver burnout, survivor's guilt, and the trauma of nearly losing my brother 3 times. You need to create boundaries, my therapist said. Loving someone with mental illness doesn't mean sacrificing your entire life. You're allowed to have limits. So I set them. I told Daniel I loved him, but I couldn't be his only support system. He needed to build a network, therapists, support groups, friends, so that I wasn't solely responsible for his well-being. I told my job I needed to reduce my hours. I was burning out, and if I burned out completely, I'd be useless to everyone, including myself. I told Lucas I loved him, that I was terrified of what that meant, terrified of being vulnerable. Terrified of losing someone else I cared about, but that I loved him anyway. I love you too, Lucas said, his hands cupping my face. And I'm not going anywhere. When things get hard, when Daniel struggles, when you struggle, when life gets overwhelming, I'm staying. That's what partners do, they stay. Even when it's messy. Especially when it's messy, Jamie, I've been where you are. I've lived through the crisis, the fear, the exhaustion. I know what I'm signing up for, and I'm choosing to be here. I'm choosing you. Why? Because you're worth it, because loving you is the easiest thing I've ever done, even when the circumstances are hard, because you make me want to be better, do better, live better. He kissed me softly. And because you stayed when I was falling apart, you showed up for me when I was drowning in guilt and grief, now I get to show up for you. 1 year later. Daniel is doing better now, not perfect, mental illness doesn't work that way, but better. He's in school part-time studying graphic design. He has a therapist he trusts, medication that works, and a support system beyond just me. He still has bad days, but he also has good ones, and slowly, carefully, he's building a life worth living. Lucas and I moved in together 6 months ago. It was terrifying combining our lives, our routines, our trauma, but it's also been beautiful. He leaves me notes in the morning before he goes to the clinic. I surprise him with dinner when he's had a long day. We attend support group together every Thursday, a ritual that's become sacred. We take photos around Brooklyn on Sunday mornings. We've learned to navigate each other's triggers, to support each other's healing, to be partners in the truest sense. You know what I realized? Lucas says one night as we're cooking dinner together, moving around each other with the practiced ease of people who have learned each other's rhythms. What's that? I thought healing was something you did alone, that I had to get better by myself before I could be in a relationship. But Jamie, healing isn't lonely, it's something we can do together. We can hold space for each other's pain while also celebrating each other's joy. That's very profound for someone who's currently burning the garlic. Shit, he rescues the pan, laughing. Okay, fine, maybe I'm not as profound as I think. You're plenty profound, and you're right. I spent so long thinking I had to carry everything alone, that accepting help was weakness. But you taught me that letting someone stay, letting someone share the weight, that's not weakness, it's the bravest thing I've ever done. I'm glad I stayed. I'm glad you stayed too. Daniel joins us for dinner, a new Friday night tradition. He's doing well today, animated as he talks about his latest design project. Lucas asks questions, genuinely interested, and I watch them together and feel something I haven't felt in years, peace. After dinner, Daniel heads home, and Lucas and I clean up together. You okay? Lucas asks, noticing my silence. I'm good, really good actually. I was just thinking about how different everything is from a year ago, how dark everything was, how alone I felt. And now I have you, and Daniel's doing better, and I'm learning to live instead of just survive. It's still hard sometimes, Daniel still has bad days, I still struggle with guilt and fear, but it's not suffocating anymore, I can breathe. That's all I want for you, to breathe, to live, to be happy. I am happy, happiest I've been in years. Lucas pulls me into his arms and I rest my head against his chest, listening to his heartbeat, steady, strong, reliable. Thank you for staying, I whisper. Thank you for letting me, he whispers back. We stand there in our kitchen, holding each other, and I think about the journey we've been on. From broken and exhausted strangers in a support group to partners building a life together. From drowning in individual pain to learning to swim together. I thought I'd be alone forever. Thought that loving someone with mental illness meant I'd never have space for my own love, my own life, my own happiness. But then Lucas stayed. Through the crisis and the fear and the overwhelming weight of it all, he stayed. And in staying, he taught me something crucial. You can hold space for pain while also making room for joy. You can support someone's healing while also prioritizing your own. You can love someone deeply while also loving yourself. Healing isn't lonely. It's not something you have to do in isolation. Sometimes, the most profound healing happens when someone looks at your life with all its complications and pain and messiness and says, "I'm staying anyway." Luca stayed. And everything changed. The end. For everyone who's loved someone with mental illness, who's carried weight they thought would crush them, who's learned to set boundaries while still showing love, who's discovered that accepting help isn't weakness, you deserve someone who stays. You deserve someone who sees your struggle and doesn't run. You deserve someone who reminds you that you're allowed to have joy even in the midst of pain. And you deserve to believe that your own life, your own happiness, your own healing, they all matter too. If you or someone you love is struggling with suicidal thoughts, please reach out. National Suicide Prevention Lifeline 988 US or visit findahelpline.com for international resources.